My name is Richard Betts. I'm the co-founder of the Casa Komos Beverage Group. I'm also the acting CEO. Super excited to be with you here today. I'm grateful to Human Ventures for actually first giving me a chance to even begin the Casa Komos Beverage Group and be their partners, as well as for the opportunity to speak with you today. So thank you. In the past, I have created and sold two wine companies as well as a spirits company. My first company was called Betts and Scholl. I started making wine right after I passed the Master Sommelier exam in 2003 with my partner Dennis Scholl. We ended up making wine in France and Napa and Australia. We sold it to a small public company called Castle Brands, which actually just recently sold to Pernod Ricard. I also co-founded, using the same model, a company called Scarpetta, making wines in Friuli. I also sold my stake onwards to private equity in 2009. And then in 2005, way before anyone was drinking mezcal and everyone thought I was crazy, I started a company called Sombra Mezcal. But it turns out we banged our head against the wall for about 10 years, and then we actually looked awfully smart. So I was very fortunate to sell my stake in Sombra Mezcal, and it's now owned by Diageo. I think a brief word on the history of how it came to be is important. It was actually here in my home in Amsterdam almost 2.5 years ago that myself and Joe Marchese were on the roof of my apartment and discussing the lack of good tequila in Europe. This very quickly led to a discussion of really a lack of good ideas in tequila as well. How everybody just does the same thing and sings the same song, tells the same story, and how unimaginative it is. And so, as Joe and I are often want to do, we go like, "Hey, let's do this. Let's think about how we can do this better and do it differently." And so we shook on it at that moment and started what is now again the Casa Komos Beverage Group. One of the things I think, as an overarching statement about how we approach things, I really have admired people that have sort of seen spaces where it didn't exist before, and it's opened this little crack in the world to do things differently, or to lead differently, or create things that we didn't even know we needed, but they in the end made life better. I've always found that really inspiring. And when I think about my own work, I essentially think of myself as someone who gets to make delicious things. I also hope that those things make people happy and they enrich their lives, and that in of itself is a great gift. But I do all this in this beverage alcohol industry, which is by and large a very staid, I'd even say stale, old-fashioned industry that relies on old ideas and old ways of doing things. So when we think about how to bring that the thinking that inspires me, new ways to look at things, to this very, very old industry, it turns out it reveals a great deal of opportunity. And so that applies specifically to our first two sub-companies. So underneath CKBG, we've created two companies making different products. The first is called Superbird. Superbird is a reference to the first product underneath the company, which is a Paloma. Paloma is a cocktail. Think of it like a grapefruit margarita. And Paloma in Spanish means the dove. So thus Superbird. And I've been a big admirer of, mostly as a consumer, of RTDs, ready to drink cocktails, which is what these are. So it's cocktail and can. I've made wine in Australia for the last 20 years, and they have a huge RTD history. And so anyways, you drink a lot of these things while you're making wine. But when I first started 8 years ago thinking about how I could make one myself, I had a mezcal company at that point in time. And as I dug in and learned about how these things are made, I found that they're garbage. You actually don't want to drink them, or this is in the years past, but artificial colors, artificial flavors, artificial sweeteners, and gross preservatives, and things you absolutely do not want to put in your body. At least I don't. And everything I make, I've got to be able to drink it first. That's the key. So when you do that exploration, you find, if you will, the palette with which you have to paint in the industry is one that you don't want to work with. You've got to dig deeper and do more. And it'd be easy to turn around and say, well, I guess there's just not an opportunity here. Or you can dig in and say, there is an opportunity here. There's an opportunity to do something differently and make it better and make it what we want to drink. And when we make something special, then it's easy to jump up and down about it, which is what I do now full time. So we've done that. And it turns out that the way to do it differently is actually to be simple, to be easy, to make the drink that you want to drink. And so in this case, Superbird is the first, the Paloma, is great tequila, which we make, and it's 100% blue agave tequila. So no lousy spirits. It's pink grapefruit juice. It's sparkling water, and it's got agave nectar in it to give it a little bit of sweetness. But no fake sugars, no even sugar. It's agave nectar, and so we've succeeded in making something that has been roundly enjoyed, and frankly, I think we're going to do really, really, really well with this. Everyone who's drunk it loves it. I expect we'll have some exciting news regarding distribution nationwide towards the end of this year, first part of next year. Something that I think we should all be really, really proud of when it happens. And even now, you can order it at superbirdSPRBRD.com, and we'll ship it to you wherever you are. The second company is called Komos, and so that's the namesake of the parent company. And Komos is the tequila, right? So this is what I began this little talk about when I'm describing Joe and I wanting more, wanting better, and we thought about two things. Okay, first, how is tequila enjoyed, right? And I would dare say that it's seldom enjoyed with a mariachi band, wearing a sombrero, and eating chips and salsa. It's just not how it's done anymore. Of course, lots of tequila does get drunk that way, but plenty of it doesn't, especially the tequila that I want to drink. So we thought, well, what's the occasion? Well, it's often on a beach, by a pool, in a friend's home, in a fine restaurant, in a nightclub, and that's very, very different than the entirety of how tequila is really talked about and sold, and then furthermore even made. So we've thought, well, what is that occasion? What if we define that, and we looked around, we thought about, okay, well, the sun, the sand, the beach. It's this kind of Mediterranean aspirational lifestyle that we all want and endeavor to live. And why not allow that occasion and that lifestyle inform how we make it? It turns out that dovetails really well with my skill set as a winemaker, and so we've made something that is actually in its parts, and it's never been done before. So the short strokes are, of course, to be tequila, it has to come from the tequila region. Just like champagne has to come from Champagne in France, tequila has to come from tequila within Mexico. So that's fine. So it's Mexican tradition, but then we can layer on the Mediterranean inspiration. And what that means is you make a great base product with silver tequila, and then you build, right? And so the first Komos is called an Añejo Claro. So most tequila añejos are brown. They've been aged in a variety of barrels. Most people do it in bourbon barrels. We actually do it in wine barrels. And so you're building complexity, but we're also building subtlety, which is something I think is very, very important. Step after step, it takes about 15 months in total to make a batch. But we've made something that is now taken on age and taken on a softness and taken on a complexity. But then we do a step that hasn't been done before, and we actually put this brown añejo tequila through a charcoal column, which takes out all of the color in these things called congeners, right? And so by removing the brown hue to it, I think that you've also increased the occasions when people will drink it. And that's to say, you don't see a lot of brown booze consumed by the pool in the summer, but you do see a lot of margaritas drunk in the summer, and so by the pool. So you're increasing that occasion. Then those other little things I mentioned, these congeners, they're impurities, and those are the things that actually give you a headache when you do drink too much of them. And we take these out with that charcoal, but you preserve the flavor and you've made it more smooth again. We're not done. At that point, another trick from winemaking, which is we use ancient Greek amphora. These aren't actually antiques; they're replicas of the antiques that we have made in the Republic of Georgia, which is to the northeast of Greece, for geography lesson. But these things are essentially ovular, and when we put the tequila in there, you tumble it, and it takes on oxygen. And when it takes on oxygen, it breathes almost, if you will, and it's this real amazing sort of, I don't want to say sleight of hand because it's actually true, but in taking on the oxygen, it builds an impression of softness and sweetness on the palate. So you'll drink it and it'll feel actually sweet without having added any sugar whatsoever. And then the last bit is a bit of a secret, but to be shared amongst friends and partners, and then in the industry as well. But we don't share this outwardly. We don't put it on the label. We don't talk about it. And I think you'll understand why. But we add a little bit of salt. the tiniest bits, like what would be on the head of a pin is what goes into one bottle, and it has this amazing effect. So, I mean, if you think about it, you drink margaritas, there's salt on the rim, right? So this for years, salt has been the bartender's MSG, because it does exactly what I'm about to tell you. What we do actually in the tequila itself is it gives you, first of all, it takes what is an acidic liquid and it brings it closer to pH neutral. So again, it's more comfortable to drink, and that's the point. And then the second thing it does is it gives you this kind of, you can't put your finger on it. It's almost like umami, right, in Japanese food. And it's this sense of fullness and savory quality on your palate, but you can never put your finger on it. And I promise you'll never say it's salty, but I also promise you will want to keep drinking it. And that's the point. And so Komos is the first of the tequilas underneath the Komos company, and it's an Nanejo Claro. From here, we'll diversify with a reposado, which will actually be pink. We're aging it in some very beautiful wine barrels from some friends of mine in both Napa and Sonoma, very special addresses, and it makes an amazing reposado that's light and pink and delicious and eminently drinkable. And then we'll also make an extra añejo on the other side. That'll be something rich and amazing as well. You can order Komos now, so komos.com, and we'll ship it to you. And you'll find the reposado and the extra añejo by the middle of next year. I also have an ask. Obviously, I'm very enthusiastic about these things. It allows me to jump up and down, and then also ask you to enjoy them, drink them. I hope they make you enthusiastic too, so you can help me, help build the constituency, right? Share them far, share them wide, talk about them, get them in everyone's hands you can, because when we build the constituency, we're going to do really, really well. Thanks for your help.